Okay, well, I think that I could probably go through like every single drawing that he's ever done and really enjoy breaking these things down because, like I say, there's no accidents here, or well, I think sometimes there are a few actually, but very rarely. So there's a lot for us to learn through here, and but I don't think I'm going to just keep on saying the same stuff. So we'll finish up here and go through the last few fairly rapidly. As we're looking at this, again, you can see the tendency towards very strong vertical and horizontal compositions. Right, he's not going for long, graceful contrapposto kind of compositions through here, but he then. So what would you say? Like he takes the body and he puts it into a fairly geometric architectural structure, something like that. But then he breaks that with the movement of these lines, and just like look at how extreme that is. But all of this adds up to something. I think, I'm not sure I can break it down completely. So here, again, we've peeled the deltoid off. So we're left with, we've taken away 90% of the deltoid. So we're left with the humerus just pushing out there. And then, so that's going to be triceps through there. That's going to be biceps. Let me just check that that's how he's... No, actually, no, I don't think so. I think, okay, this is how it is. Bonk. That's humerus pushing out, so he's almost treating the humerus like a bony landmark. Important thing to take away, even if you don't decide that in future you're always going to peel the deltoid off, at least you can start to appreciate how much impact the humerus has there. Because it really does, it really pushes out through here. But anyway, so he's treating the humerus as a bony landmark, and then that is deltoid. So he's creating a break there that we don't normally see in life. What we normally see is a straightness, and then it dives back in, and he's just dinking that in. And then that's going to be triceps through there. And the biceps itself is not impacting the silhouette. This is then going to be the bulge of the supinators, brachioradialis, extensor longus, and then bunk, that's the medial epicondyle, that's the olecranon of the ulna, and then, so that's the bulge of the meat. Yeah, I think so. I'm actually not sure about whether that's the bulge of the meat, and then the lateral epicondyle is somewhere there and we're not seeing it so much. I'm not sure, so let's move on. Well, through here, here we can go medial epicondyle very clearly, lateral epicondyle very clearly, and then I'm going, well, yeah, that egg shape I can't unpack. So this will be the ulnar, and then you remember, so the ulnar, he's not finding the ulnar ridge, but it's going to be, see there's the other end of the ulnar, so it's going to be running down there, something like that. You remember on Raphael we were going, well, on his wrist he just treats it like a box, right? That was Raphael, and you can see Schiele's doing the same thing, just that allows him to go, okay, long curvaceous form there. Generally that the way you would play it is to have the inside of the arm long and soft and to have the outside of the arm stopping earlier. He's reversing that. I don't know why, but it doesn't really matter. So you have that line plays off against that line. As long as the lines aren't mirroring, then you're pretty much in the clear. And then from here, he just goes bang. This is just bone, right? And just playing the strength of the bone, which you can see here, he doesn't do that so much. We're not finding the hard movement of the bone. What we're seeing is like this spiral, right? It's like it's just like a twisted gummy bear or something like that, right? But he's going, yeah, I just want to tell you the story of the twist, right? Which here you don't have. You've got a more linear movement. So he's manipulating the anatomy to accentuate a certain read. On the outside through here, I think we're going deltoid through there. That would be serratus, and like there, he's giving you the rib cage, right? Just really clearly. Even though okay, well that could be the latissimus, which would be moving over the form of the rib cage. So whether or not he's underlying the rib cage or the latissimus doesn't really matter, because it is giving us the shape of the rib cage either which way. And then, so this is going to be serratus with latissimus on top. You can see the fingers of the serratus through there. And then here's the thing that is, I think, slightly broken, because that would be the bottom of the rib cage. I don't see how it could be anything else. So it would be something like that. But that shadow is clearly him giving you the bottom of the 10th rib. So he's finishing the rib cage there, but in his handling of the line through there, he's doing that. And could happen, right? Because that's the bottom of the 10th rib. You have the two floating ribs that we're normally not that fussed with underneath there. So whether or not he's choosing to push them, or whether or not he's just going, I don't really care. You know, we'll have the rib cage pushing out there, and then the bottom of the 10th rib there. I'm not sure. Like I have seen, like and you'll see if you look at his drawings, that he really likes to extend the distance between the rib cage and pelvis, which normally I say to you guys, don't do that. Not because it's wrong, let's say, but because your natural instinct will be to make these big distances. And on the adult male, the distance between the bottom of the 10th rib and the top of the iliac crest would be as thin as like 2 fingers width. And here, if we're saying that's the bottom of the 12th rib, what we could say the top of the iliac crest might be there, so that's a full hand's distance. But that's, you know, that's within his style. He disconnects the rib cage from the pelvis. My take on that is that it allows him to have these very dynamic mid-form movements up here, and then move into a long and graceful form. If he had the hips really close to the rib cage, then he'd be carrying on with these crazy movements down here, and you just go, my eyes are bleeding, you know, you need a little bit of rest. So that's my take on what he's looking for through here. Well, I was pretty sure that I said I wasn't going to dissect everything, didn't I? But I mean, hopefully this is like even half as interesting for you as it is for me. Like, so here in this self-portrait, it's all bone again, right? Warm. That's the forward lean of the rib cage through there, right? He's even scooping it forward through there. So it's kind of manipulating the form whilst playing with the existing character of it. That line gives us the scapula, right? So scapula there. That line there gives us the serratus. Like, look at how sophisticated this is, right? That's the line of the serratus. Then that's all smooth because it's not bone. But here he has extra lines because that is the ribs. He knows you're not going to see the ribs through there because it's serratus. And then we lose the movement of the ribs through there. So okay, that's really interesting. So the rib cage is there. That makes more sense in terms of anatomical sense. And then you're left questioning what that is, and I can't give you an answer to that. It would most likely be lumbar muscles, so long lumbar muscles there, and you can see the overlap through there, where these would be the multifidus muscles through there, and then on this side the erector spinae muscles. But anyway, if we take a look at the arm again, you can just see it's pretty much a drawing of a humerus, more or less, right? You can see how sharp and bony this is. So that's humerus through there. We come down here, and then this is medial epicondyle sticking out. That lateral epicondyle, that would be more like that. It doesn't stick out so much, but anyway, let's say that it does, and then this is going to be the olecranon of the ulna through there. So so oftentimes what I say to you guys is, when you're working on like a fairly muscular body, then look for the thinness of the joints, because the muscle bulges around there. But when you're working on a very thin figure, look at the width of the joints, because bones flare out at the ends, so the joints appear to be wider when there's not that much muscle. And here, yeah, he's finding like the muscle, but just, you know, only just. And here the biceps, like, so there's this really subtle thing with the biceps, that it has a depression in the middle, and historically, like, you just see artists enjoying using that, because that if you find this like perfect C curve, it's a bit of a what, I don't know, like a not very appealing curve sort of thing. So that depression in the biceps is like, it's like a little like a little artist secret, something like that. But you only see it in guys who have either done a lot of study from the artists who've come before them, or who have managed to find it in the human body off of their own studies. And so you can see here, like, it's I mean, it's nothing like super amazing in itself, but it's an interesting tell that you can go, when you see an artist doing that, they probably know what they're doing. And by the way, the movement of the humerus here, pushing out forwards, which if Schiele did put deltoids on here, the whole movement of the shoulder would be to point forwards, and then you pretty much get a flat plane at the back. And look at how he's handling that brushstroke, that particular brushstroke there. Boom, just a flat plane through there. That's the spine of the scapula, by the way. Again, compositionally, horizontals, verticals, boom, very, very bold movements. And as well, like these images I think are slightly cropped, but we're still seeing a tendency to allow the figure to be cropped, even if we were seeing the full original. There's nothing wrong with doing that, you know. But again, like while he's using these strong verticals and strong horizontals in his bones and in his big movements, the medium movements are still allowing a lot of life to be found through here. Okay, let's treat this as like a super quick summary. Boom, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, horizontal, almost vertical. Not even including the feet in there, even though they're not cropped off of the canvas. I can't tell you the reasoning for that. I think you'd have to ask Schiele. Now, what's interesting through here is this: the fact that that is something that you could kind of sense, right? Because so what's happening is the quadriceps, they're not going to there, they're going to around here, so the anterior inferior iliac spine. So you've got quadriceps going to somewhere like that, and so this mass through there is going to be more like the muscles of the hip. And you can see actually like he's separating them both in terms of line and color, but that scoop is not something that you are going to see in life. But from a design point of view, it's working pretty nicely. No, you come down here, you come up, bonk, and then you hit that, and then that plays off against a gentle curve through there. And then as we come back through to here, you can see pretty much the same idea being used again. And this, I think, like you know, I'm always saying to you guys, like, well, you need some sort of conception of the figure in your head. And then the figure that I teach is the set of academic proportions that we use. But even beyond there, you need to know in your head, how do you treat the end of a finger, or the bridge of the nose, or you know, whatever it is, the small of the back. And so for the whole figure, you need to have something in your head for how you want to do that. And so this idea is clearly like that rhythm playing off against that rhythm is clearly something that Schiele devised and came up with in his head, and was like, you know, and potentially with working with a model, but still was then like, yeah, that's something that I want to use. And I think it's important to focus on that, because it invites the idea that that you are in control of that figure, and you are in control of the way that you handle the form and the way that you handle the figure. And that can be something that when you work from life, you work from the model or from reference very, very closely, is that so you can forget, you know. Well, anyway, I think worth mentioning the clear separation here in terms of color, because he's using color in an anatomical way, which I think is pretty fascinating. So through there, for example, that's a separate color for a separate mass. That's the mass of the fat and the adductors of the leg. And then through here, that's the mass of the quadriceps of the leg. So he's separating that out. And then here, a clear separation of color for the rib cage. I'm interested that he's taking the sternum all the way down there, when I'm sure that he knows that it's there. I can't quite figure out an answer for that. This different sphere of color looks like it corresponds with a fat storage through there. The color jump of the arms, I can't tell you, but then potentially the color change through here is observing the fact that the legs do get redder as you move down the form. So there's maybe an overlap there in terms of what you would expect to see, what you can accentuate using the anatomy, and what you want to put in from your own understanding of design, something like that. Again, like, look at that distance. If you're stretched out like that in real life, you're either a cat or you're dead, or you're a Schiele drawing. You can only be one of those three things. So when you figure out which one of those things that you are, then let me know, and I will I will respond accordingly, I suppose. But let's just keep on breaking down these forms. So here, bang, again, you can see that's a particular favorite of Schiele's. Looking at how when the arm comes out, this is going to be the scapula. So the scapula will start to wing out there, and you will get that sharp bony movement through there. And then here again, treating the deltoid as bony. And then, whoa, look at that, looking for the width of the bone through there. So that's going to be medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle, and then that's the that's the ulna through there, right? When the arm is bent, those three things form a triangle. When the arm is straight, the ulna is here, and they're there on a straight line. But well, I suppose I should stop. So guys, I hope this is as interesting for you as it is for me. Yeah, let's start to actually sculpt out some of these forms and see what happens.